to Canada, one of my favorite
Yes.
podcasters, and a phenomenal book, Personal Socrates, Marc Champagne. You're up.
Whew, thank you. Thank you for the Canadian intro, and Charlie, of course, sharing your story. I think you kind of answered my original question, which was, what was the question that changed it for you? And I wrote it down, that who am I going to be in this situation? So maybe I'll ask a follow-up on that. And just, there was the running, obviously, while you were in prison, but what other things mentally, like what other mental fitness did you have to rely on the day-to-day? So I imagine, it's when you're left with your mind for that long, stuff comes up that, can derail the best of us. So I'm curious if you had any other practices.
Dude, it's a great question. Scott knows that I don't ever think about my answers. So I'm just going to say what came to my mind. So two things. Number one, I went to prison on an antidepressant. All right. So I had been taking a particular antidepressant. I think it was Paxil for like a few years at that point. I'd gone through a phase of just being really depressed. And, I made the decision to start that antidepressant without enough guidance. And if I'd had to do it again, I wouldn't have done it. But when I went to prison, I couldn't get that. They wanted to switch me to something else. And I actually made a decision in there that I was going to learn to meditate. And look, my brain, like probably a lot of you guys and girls, I am the worst meditator in the world. Like if you want me to sit quietly with my thoughts and breathe, if I have guidance, I can do it all day. If I'm left with just what's going on up here, forget about it. So there was a book, one of Deepak Chopra's books. Ironically, I'm now partners with Deepak Chopra in an addiction recovery business, which is funny all these years later. But I picked up his book and I taught myself to meditate. Because the worst part about prison, I get this question a fair amount. The number one worst part about prison isn't any of the things that you and the normal person would think. It's the noise. It is 24-hour a day assault from sound from 500 other men in basically what is an enclosed space. 24 hours a day. And it's I won't go into litany of sounds, but it's not just talking and screaming and arguing and every bodily function known to man. Like it was just awful. And so honestly, meditation in there truly saved my life. Because there were times when we're in lockdown, like for a week at a time, couldn't go outside. I would run in my place in my cell for 5 or 6 hours at a time sometimes, which actually just, to be honest, actually just made me weird enough that people didn't bother me. It's a good strategy. If any of you guys ever decide to go to federal prison, just act like you're crazy. And if you're a middle-aged white guy, especially, just nobody wants to even bother you. But that was, I would say learning how to meditate. And then that has led me to where I am today, where I do breath work every day. I'm anxious when we're done to get in my cold plunge out on my back deck, and then into my red light sauna later. And I'm all about using technology to make me healthier. So, but it starts right here.